It was supposed to be a fun birthday gift, a simple DNA test, the kind of gift millions of people buy every year to learn about their ancestry, discover distant relatives, or satisfy a little curiosity about where they came from. He never imagined that a small plastic tube and a laboratory report would destroy everything he believed about his family. For 23 years, he had called one man Dad, the man who taught him to ride a bike, the man who cheered at every graduation, celebrated every birthday, and stood beside him through every milestone of life. But one ordinary afternoon, an email notification arrived with the words, "Your DNA results are ready." At first, everything looked normal. Then, one unexpected result appeared. One sentence, one genetic match, one truth that no one had planned to tell him. In just a few moments, his family history became a family secret, and the life he thought he understood began to fall apart. This is the story of how one DNA test uncovered 23 years of hidden truth and forced an entire family to confront the past they had spent decades trying to protect. For 23 years, he believed he knew exactly where he belonged. He grew up in a loving home with parents who supported him through every stage of life. His father taught him how to ride a bicycle, helped him with school projects, and never missed an important moment. His mother was caring, protective, and always reminded him that family was life's greatest blessing. Like many families, they weren't perfect. They argued sometimes, celebrated birthdays together, took vacations, and built memories that seemed completely ordinary. There was never a reason to question whether he truly belonged. His last name, his childhood photographs, and every family tradition told the same story. To him, family wasn't something he doubted. It was something he simply lived every day. Everything changed on his 23rd birthday. As they finished dinner, his wife handed him a small gift box wrapped in blue paper. Inside was a home DNA ancestry kit. She laughed and told him she thought it would be fun to discover where his ancestors came from. Maybe he would find distant cousins, learn about his heritage, or uncover interesting pieces of family history. He thought it was a thoughtful gift. A few days later, he mailed the sample to the laboratory without giving it another thought. Life continued as usual. He went to work, spent weekends with his family, and occasionally joked with his wife about whether he might discover royal blood or a famous historical relative. He had no idea that the biggest discovery would be much closer to home. Several weeks later, an email appeared in his inbox. "Your DNA results are ready." Excited, he opened the report. At first, everything seemed fascinating. Maps of his ancestry, percentages from different regions, and genetic traits he had inherited. It was exactly what he expected. Then he noticed something unusual. The family matching section listed several close relatives he had never heard of. More confusing still, one person appeared as an immediate biological match, but it wasn't his father. He refreshed the page, checked the name again, read the report over and over, convinced there had to be a mistake. The science couldn't be wrong, so why didn't his family history match the family he had known his entire life? Unable to ignore the results, he decided to ask his parents. At first, the conversation seemed ordinary. His mother smiled politely and dismissed the report as a laboratory error. His father remained unusually quiet, avoiding eye contact whenever the DNA test was mentioned. Something felt different. Days later, he brought it up again. This time, the silence lasted much longer. His mother became emotional. His father looked at the floor, his hands trembling as though he had been carrying a weight too heavy to hold any longer. The room felt smaller with every passing second. Finally, his mother whispered the words he never expected to hear. "There's something we've never told you." In that moment, years of certainty began to collapse. With tears in her eyes, his mother revealed a secret she had protected for more than 2 decades. The man who had raised him, loved him, and stood beside him every day of his life was not his biological father. Before she met the man she called Dad, she had been involved in another relationship. She became pregnant unexpectedly, and before the child's birth, that relationship ended. The biological father disappeared from her life, leaving her alone and frightened. Months later, she met the man who would eventually become her husband. When he learned the truth, he made a decision that would shape the rest of their lives. He chose to stay. He chose to raise the child as his own. He signed the birth certificate, gave the boy his name, and loved him without hesitation. Together, they agreed never to reveal the truth, believing they were protecting their son from unnecessary pain. But secrets rarely disappear. They simply wait for the moment they are discovered. As the room fell silent, the young man looked at the father who had raised him. For 23 years, he had wondered who he was. Now he faced an even more difficult question. If the man who loved him wasn't his biological father, what truly makes someone a father? When DNA reveals more than biology. At first glance, this story seems to be about a DNA test. But in reality, it is about something much deeper. Identity, trust, family, and one difficult question that has challenged people for generations. Does biology define a family, or does love? 1. Why families keep life-changing secrets. Many parents who keep secrets like this don't do it out of cruelty. They do it out of fear. Fear that the truth will destroy the bond they've spent years building. Fear that a child will feel unwanted. Fear that revealing the past will create pain where there was once peace. Psychologists often describe this as protective secrecy, the belief that withholding painful information is an act of love. The intention may be protection, but the consequence is often something very different, because every secret carries a cost, and the longer it remains hidden, the heavier that cost becomes. 2. The identity crisis no one expects. Most people spend their lives believing they know who they are, their family name, their history, their roots. When a DNA test suddenly contradicts everything they've believed, the emotional impact can be profound. It's not simply learning new information, it's losing certainty. Many people describe the experience as feeling as though the foundation beneath their lives has disappeared overnight. Questions begin to appear that never existed before. Who am I? What else don't I know? If this wasn't true, what else has been hidden? The DNA result becomes more than scientific data. It becomes a challenge to a person's identity. 3. The difference between a father and a biological parent. This story also forces us to examine a difficult distinction. A biological father contributes DNA. A father contributes his life. The man who raised this young man was there for every scraped knee, every school event, every birthday, every disappointment, and every success. He wasn't connected through genetics. He was connected through thousands of daily choices. Psychologists often emphasize that secure attachment is built through consistent love, protection, and presence, not biology alone. Genes may explain where we come from, but love often explains who we become. 4. Should every truth always be told? This question has no easy answer. Some believe every person has the right to know their biological history. Others believe revealing certain truths may create unnecessary suffering. What this story teaches is that not every secret should remain hidden, or that every secret should immediately be revealed. It teaches that the longer a truth is buried, the more painful its discovery often becomes. Time doesn't erase secrets, it simply allows them to grow. 5. The lesson behind this story. Family is one of the strongest emotional bonds we experience, but real trust depends on honesty. Not because the truth is always easy, but because honesty allows people to build relationships on reality instead of illusion. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't protecting someone from the truth, it's standing beside them when the truth finally comes to light. When he opened that DNA report, he believed he was searching for his family's past. Instead, he discovered the truth about his future. The results changed his understanding of where he came from, but they could never erase the man who stayed, the man who chose bedtimes over biology, who chose birthdays over bloodlines, who chose love every single day without expecting anything in return. Perhaps that's the lesson hidden inside this story. DNA can tell us who we are biologically, but it cannot measure loyalty, it cannot measure sacrifice, and it cannot measure love. In the end, families are not held together by shared genes alone. They are held together by the people who choose to stay when life becomes difficult. If this story made you think differently about family, identity, and forgiveness, share your thoughts in the comments below. What truly makes someone a parent? Shared DNA or a lifetime of unconditional love? If you enjoyed true stories that explore the psychology behind real human behavior, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because every story has two sides, but only one truth.